Hello, this is Greg McMurphy. I'd like to talk to you today about wiring up rj31x jacks. Registered jack 31x, that's some old nomenclature, goes way back in the day when there used to be Western Electric catalog where the one provider of phone service in the United States pulled their parts from. So enough about that. We use rj31x jack to provide phone line service to alarm panels, usually specifically fire alarm panels, could be for security also. And for the plain old telephone system, POTS, if you see that term, POTS means plain old telephone system. And the phone wiring on a rj31x jack, you take a phone line to pins 4 and 5, and whatever phone line you bring in, like from our phone company, it comes down to our building, goes through protector block, goes through some distribution in our building, and heads out, often just to go feed a telephone jack. We take that phone line, which will equate to a number and a way to get dial tone from the phone company, to this jack. If we plug a piece of equipment in, the equipment will get the phone line, but we can also, the jack provides continuity out on pins 1 and 8. So whatever comes in on pin 4 comes out on pin 1, whatever comes in on pin 5 goes out on pin 8, and those two pins could be used to feed downstream another phone line or another phone outlet. So we can plug in our phone, our fax machine, whatever, into that. Say that'll be our fax machine. Fax machine will get the phone line. If you don't plug any equipment in, if you plug equipment in, then the dial tone and the ability to dial out goes first through the alarm control panel if it needs it, and we'll show you how that works. Here's a close-up of the jack, clockwise numbering. The old color coding scheme, it's kind of hard to see with the color rendition, but this is a green wire. Green, red, yellow, black was the first two pairs. In the old color coding scheme, tip and ring. So green is tip, red is ring. Inside the jack, there are a couple of metal clips inside, deep inside there. You can see them in this picture. They're way back in, kind of buried, and they short out pin 1 and 4 and pin 5 and 8 together back inside. So if nothing is plugged in, dial tone, the ability to dial out, comes out on here, right here on pins 8 and pin 1. If you plug a piece of equipment in, these connections pull down away from the shorting clip, and you get continuity through the alarm panel then. Right, these are 8-pin, 8-conductor modular jacks, commonly known as a biscuit in that kind of configuration where they're a surface mount. And they accept up to an 8-pin modular plug. All these plugs have a keyway that's a common keyway feed and centers up the plug into the jack. And regardless of the number of conductors, that keyway always centers up. There's a little, with this clear plastic, it's hard to see. There's a raised rectangular protrusion on the plug that fits into the keyway in the jack, and it centers everything up. So you can see this is a 2-conductor equipment cord. Those 2 conductors are hooked to pins 4 and 5 in the plug, which line up with pins 4 and 5 in the jack, which is where line 1 always goes. So here's our equipment cord heading out to our fax machine. picking up line 1 heading out. Right, and it doesn't matter, and that's why with our pinouts, when you look at a modular jack, pins 4 and 5 are line 1, and if it's a 568A, the pins just outside that, 3 and 6, are line 2, and then you get, or a pair 2, and then you get pairs 3 and 4, like the blue and orange pair on a 568A, nest right over the top of each other. And that's why you use, that's the default if you're putting in Cat 5 or Cat 6, well, Cat 5 cabling likely at a residence. The recommendation is to use that 568A standard because it will work both with a 2-line phone or with your Ethernet. The USOC standard, you know, the old standard for multi-line phone, just had pair 1, pair 2, pair 3, pair 4 nestled right over the top of each other, but it's always pair 1 that goes on the pins 4 and 5. So regardless, if you have this, regardless of what kind of piece of equipment you have, if you're plugging it into a 568, a 568B, or a USOC jack, you're always going to pick up line 1 typically on that pins 4 and 5. What I'm going to have on the screen for examples from here on out is we're going to show a blue conductor, a blue 4 conductor cable coming in. That's going to represent our wiring coming in from the telephone company off the protector block in the building, and it's going to terminate on the 66 block. This is the style of 66 block where the 2 pins on the left have continuity, then there's a gap, there's no continuity clear across, and then the 2 pins on the right have continuity. So we would lay down all our incoming lines on the left and all our outgoing lines on the right, and then cross connect to pick up whatever phone number or connection we need on the left, and cross connect to the right, right? Because we may have this, for example, in the training center, our main line is 7830589, and it might actually go out to multiple jacks throughout the building and ring in multiple locations at Sasha's desk, and Dennis's desk, and Greg's desk, and my desk. Just like that phone's ringing right now. That was, almost couldn't have been planned any better. So here's what it looks like being cross-connected. The incoming phone line, I only did line 1, I only did pair 1 just for clarity here. The white top tip ring, so the white's on top, then the color. Outgoing into the field, I got a blue pair in that outgoing 4 conductor heading out in the field. Just connecting pair 1, the blue pair for clarity. And here you see this blue jumper cross connecting from the left-hand side to the right-hand side. So here I've added the next step, which is to put a modular jack out in the field. Again, not very realistic, only connecting line 1. And my cursor's jumping all over the screen. But right there's our modular jack, blue pair heading out to the equipment. Now I've replaced the field jack, the standard outlet jack, with a modular jack with our biscuit, with our rj31x. So I'm feeding the line in. It's not really going anywhere yet. We're going from telco, cross connect wire, heading out into the field. This would be a home run in our star topology, heading out to a jack in the field, which would be located in or very near our fire alarm control panel. Right, and like I mentioned before, incoming signal comes in on 4 and 5, red and green. Christmas tree and bumblebee is the old color code, right? Christmas tree, red and green, bumblebee, yellow and black. And that will come out on pair on the pins 4 and 5, and we'll get continuity through the equipment if we plug something into it. Whoop. Went one too far. So now we have things kind of rotated on us. Here's our incoming, there's the jack, so this is pin 4 and 5 over here. That's our tip and ring, white and blue. Coming in with line 1, comes into the jack, goes out on 1 and 8, and heads out, feeds our modular jack somewhere else, anywhere in the building. That's then going to connect up. That's our fax machine connected up. As long as we don't use the jack, then we just have like this is essentially a wire nut in the line. Right? It's just a splice point in the line if we never use equipment. Of course, this is not terminated cleanly. I was trying to show in and out, our continuity in and out. The conductors are too short. The blue and white here are too short. This should be laid in so that all the conductors could fit through these notches in the back of the biscuit. I was just trying to get clarity. It was hard to get pictures if the wires were too long. So now we've built the next step. We've got telco wire, telco service, the dial tone, the ability to dial out there, cross connect, heading out to the field via the rj31x. Now we've got our fire alarm control panel cord plugged in. This would represent the equipment cord heading out to the fire alarm control panel. And then in the control panel, we're going to get continuity through the control panel, right? There's going to be in the control panel, I'll just draw one of the conductors. Let's say the white conductor comes here. It goes out through the jack to the equipment. It goes to a common of a relay. On the relay, there's a normally closed. Normally closed comes back. So if we're coming in on pin 4, it goes out on, or actually pin 5, it comes out on pin 8, and then out to our fax machine. So our fax machine, through a pair of contacts, right, 2 Form C contacts, has continuity as long as the relay stays in its normal state. When the fire alarm control panel wants to dial out, it changes the state of that relay. The fax machine loses its phone line even if it's in the middle of a fax, and then the essentially that hung up the call. The fire alarm control panel gets dial tone, and it starts dialing whatever it needs to do, either its monthly check-in or its alarm state, if that's the case. So here's a wiring diagram, and sometimes these wiring diagrams are so old that they show the old wiring color codes. Like here's our red and green, or green and red, tip and ring. So green is tip, red is ring. So what's the new line 1 color code for tip and ring? Right, that's right. I knew you could. White is tip, blue is ring. And then you could directly wire, like I did originally, your outgoing run to a premises phone, a fax outlet, a payphone, whatever, directly onto the jack and spread that out. Again, if you plug into a digital alarm communication transmitter, that DACT will have relays in it to pull the phone line and disconnect any ongoing calls as needed. And what that does, it cuts down costs. It means that you don't have to pay for 2 phone lines for your fire alarm control panel and pay that bill every month for 2 lines year in, year out, just to have that outgoing monthly check-in phone call. If you plug that in, then we get continuity out through the equipment and through the relay, as I drew earlier. So there's our color code. Tip green from the phone company turns into white and blue in our system. Right, once we get into the building, we'll have white tip, blue ring, and then if we wire a separate 4 conductor horizontal cable to our next outlet from that same jack location, then you'll have a white on pin 8 on the yellow and a blue on pin 1. Heading out into the field. But really, a better way to do our wiring that's much more flexible is what's called a star topology. We run a separate 4-pair home run for every jack, and then just wire it up. We make our connections at the 66 block to make it electrically in series, right? That rj31x is really in series with the downstream jack. So we can home run both of these jacks to the panel board, or not the panel board, the 66 block, and just by putting jumpers in, make the signal go out to the rj31x, out to the equipment, back on that 4-pair run, and then have another cross connect wire to bring our dial tone down in series to the next device. All right, and here I've done a more realistic laydown. That last picture did not have all 4 pair laid down. Now all of the cables have all 4 pair laid down, and I also put some colored cross connect wire in order to more easily see what's going on. That first one just had blue cross connect wire. All right, so incoming phone line, orange cross connect wire out on the blue pair, back on the orange pair, pick up the orange pair, bring it down to all the points you need that phone number to ring in the building. And here's a nice close-up. Blue pair from the phone company, cross connects on this piece of orange cross connect cable, goes out on the blue, it goes out to our rj31x jack, out to the equipment, through the normally closed set of contacts that are in there, comes back on the orange pair. The orange pair comes back in this cable, and we pick up off the orange pair with this green cross connect wire, bring that down and lay it in on top of pair 1, heading out to the next phone jack that we want to ring with that particular, and get dial tone for that particular phone number. And there's really close so we can see the colors. Notice that we can put our 66 tip on in such a way that it does not cut and it just bridges, and we can bring whatever phone number that is off that orange pair with this green wire. It comes down, it feeds pair 1 on this 4-pair cable, and then can keep going down and pick up where pair 1 is on all the subsequent locations where we wish that phone number to show up in the building. And here's our close up, right? We're bringing blue in, orange out. Blue pair comes in on 4 and 5. Orange pair goes out on 1 and 8. Routed through the equipment with the relay in play. Right, the blue pair goes down, blue pair goes out through a set of contacts, normally closed, comes back through this black cable, shows up on this screw head here, which we picked up on the orange and white, and the same thing on the other side. There's another set of normally closed contacts picking up the blue wire and then sending it through the relay out on the solid orange wire. And here's our summary, right? We come in, the phone company, the old color code, which is still kind of stranded in documentation, doesn't really show up usually in the physical wire anymore. It does show up in some of the jacks. The green and red tip and ring inside our building turns into white and blue, goes through our 66 block on a 4-pair cable, comes back inside the same 4-pair cable on white and orange, goes through our 66 block, and then heads out on the white blue white pair out into the field to whatever phone jacks, fax machines, answering machines, whatever it is we want to have that phone number active on. Thank you for watching. Hope that helps either as a preview or a review as you're getting ready to go out in the field and interface with some alarm panels. It's still a skill we need, although we are seeing this style of wiring being supplanted with cell phone technology currently, but we still need to be able to interface with it, troubleshoot it, and know what we are doing when we run into it. Again, thanks and good luck.